Okay, can you hear me now? I need to know, can you guys hear me? Because I'm using a new mic today. And I see, okay, Andy says you can see me, not hear me. I think I have myself muted, but I need to know because normally I use the computer mic. I'm trying out this wireless lapel. So you guys let me know if you can hear me. How does the audio sound compared to normal? Just give me a quick little bit of information. I've got a new setup here. I'll probably be doing Tuesday talks in a little more of a mobile fashion, as I've got some pretty big projects. I'm going to talk about that coming up. I'm actually working on a project right here, right now, here in the Boise area. In fact, I would reach over and grab it, but I've got my hard hat over there. So I am on a commercial project. Okay, hold on a sec. Peggy says it sounds a little bit hollow. So can you guys collaborate or corroborate on that? Is that actually true? Does it sound kind of weird? No, she says sound is clear. Okay, okay. Everybody's saying sound is clear. Good, 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 good. Okay, cool. Hello. I think that maybe it was Peggy saying hello. So anyway, yeah. So I'm working on. I'm on site right now. I'm in my little job trailer. I've got some interesting things. I actually mentioned this. It's probably been about 8 months ago now. I mentioned that I had some pretty interesting opportunities coming up, and so I've been. You guys have forgive me. I got hard hat here. So and I'm just so worried about it. I know you guys are going to judge me, and I just don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep at night knowing that you guys are making fun of my hair. But I was actually, in fact, I'll just fix it right now. So I got my water bottle here. Just get a little bit of water. Let's see if I can get my Dapper Dan look going here. There we go. All right, you guys, let me know if that's better. If that's some of you is going to bother you. Um, but yeah, I mentioned this about 8 months ago that I had an opportunity to start meeting with some guys, and these were guys that shared my faith. Of course, most of you all know that I'm a Christian. Make no apologies for that. I believe in being kingdom focused, the kingdom of God. The Bible says, Jesus said, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. All the things being the things that people normally spend their entire life chasing after. You know, what are we going to eat? What are we going to drink? What clothes are we going to wear? Where are we going to live? How are we going to pay the bills? All those things, according to what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6, those are all secondary. Those are all things that get added. And by the way, you can't take things with you. Okay, so Jesus said, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. So for me, it's actually pretty important that the people that I actually work with, that I corroborate with, and especially if we're going to partner up or anything, it's important to me that we actually be really kind of equal on the values that we hold, the things that we believe, generally speaking. And so I've had an opportunity to start meeting with some guys here in the local area, here in Boise, where I'm at. And these guys had a background in finance. That's how I was actually connected to them, because I'm part of the same group with one of them. And that's a fund and a capital raising group. Of course, some of you know this, some of you don't, but I have a fund that I've been working on setting up as the general partner, and using all the proper legal channels, all the proper disclosures and everything through attorneys to make sure that I can actually raise capital with accredited investors. So accredited investors meaning you have the ability to show a certain net worth and to be able to prove that. And so, I've been working on this for a long time, because as someone who's flipped a lot of houses, someone who's borrowed a lot of money, and from private money, there's always that fine line where you could be crossing over into something that is technically not apropos. So when it comes to taking different investors' money and putting it all into one LLC, technically speaking, according to the Security and Exchange Commission, that's really not the proper way to do that. And a lot of people have found themselves in a pickle, not necessarily because the SEC is out looking to really nail some people, but because everything's fine until it's not. And then you're in this thing, and then the structuring, whenever it goes to court, is found out that it was never proper to begin with. So I decided I did not want to ever have that happen to me. And so I actually paid in a group out of Salt Lake City. And these guys have high level attorneys. They work specifically working in real estate funds. And so I've been working on setting up a private equity fund as the general partner, meaning I'm the one that controls the deal, I'm the one that finds the deal, I'm the one that structures everything. And then I can legally go out and solicit for people to, for accredited investors only, that is, to come and invest in these deals that we have structured. And the reason why I started looking into that is because I was actually came across what I still think is a really good opportunity here in Meridian, and it's a 160 unit, 55 plus independent living community that has the all of the entitlements are done. For some of you that are in just basically residential real estate, you may not understand all the terms, and I'm not trying to like talk over your head, but in commercial construction and commercial investing deals, it's really, really important that your property is entitled. So you might see a piece of property somewhere that looks really attractive. It's like, oh, I think we could build apartments there, whatever. You probably could, but you won't know that for sure until you have what's called entitlement. And entitlement is where the city, the county, whoever has seen your property, they've seen what you intend to build on that property, and they've checked all the boxes that said, yes, this is the proper zoning. Yes, this is the right kind of usage for that property. Yes, we like the buildings you're going to build. Yes, we like the use, as far as the zoning. All those things get approved by the city or the jurisdiction. And once you actually have a full approval of what you intend to build on that property, then we could say in the business, we'd say, well, now you have entitlements. Okay, it's one thing to have dirt. It's another thing to have dirt that's entitled. And so now we all know that there's lots of people out there that are entitled. We're living in a generation, in a country, in a culture that is very, very much entitled. But the properties that we're looking at, those are not entitled. And so, that's funny. Yes, I haven't done any stand up, but I've thought about it. Anyway, back to the property that I was looking at. So this property in Meridian is 160 units. It's already approved by the city of Meridian. In fact, the city of Meridian is the one who told me about this property. I was down talking to their planning department about another property, and this one came up, and they said, hey, you should go check that out. The owner is distressed. We've already issued permits. It's already got entitlements. The permits have already been issued. The footers are in. And I went and looked at the property, and sure enough, there's weeds growing up everywhere. There's a foundation put all the way around the footers at least, and then part of the foundation. There's materials on site. There's a big fence all the way around it. And I was able to get a hold of the general partner, who is based out of Florida, and he had got into this deal pre-COVID or kind of around COVID, and then one of his funding partners had pulled out, and they kind of didn't have enough money to finish it. Long story short, that's what put me down this path of, you know what, if I was ever going to take on a bigger project like this is much more than going out and just going and getting a hard money loan, right? This is a much, much bigger fish to fry. I think the bid for that property from the contractor to build that, including the dirt and everything, was all in, everything was like $40 million. And for some of you, that might sound really, really daunting, and I'm not saying that it isn't. But remember, when it comes to these big projects, it's just more zeros, and it's just usually more hoops to jump through. But the payday is exponentially better typically. Okay, now a lot of rules still apply, but it's a really different ball of wax, different animal altogether when you get into commercial deals. So as I started looking into how do you finance these types of projects, how do you actually get these things from dirt, or in this case, from dirt plus foundation footers, plus entitlements. I mean, this thing is ready to go. The city has already checked off on that. By the way, how many of you? I just like to see in the comment. I'm going to stop for a minute, get some feedback from you guys in the comments. Let me know how many of you would like to take a guess at how long it typically takes, on average, for a property to go from dirt to dirt with entitlements. Anybody want to take a guess on that? Let's just say a commercial property. Somebody throw it in the comments in the chat. How many? Does it take months? Does it take years? What does that process typically entail? How long does it normally take? I want to see what you guys have to say. See if anybody has any experience with this. Peggy says, I love your hair. Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, John said, Peggy says 1 year. John Kimberling says a year and a half. Okay. The answer is, okay, Kevin Smith says 18 months, a year and a half. Okay, the answer is, and here's Michael Garza saying 3 to 5 years. The answer is yes. All of you are right. It just depends on the jurisdiction. It depends on how much workload the city has, the city planners have to actually look and review the plans that are being submitted to them and say, yes, this actually works for this property or not. Here in Boise, in the Treasure Valley, Boise used to be a place where you could really just kind of things could get pushed through pretty quickly because of COVID, and there's a lot of blue state refugees coming out of COVID. The COVID years, California, Washington, Oregon, a lot of people came moving into this valley and found out, hey, Idaho's a pretty nice place to live. It kind of feels like America around here. And because of that, you had a huge influx of developers and builders and investors in this valley. And still, actually, we're just on the beginning stages here. I believe that the Treasure Valley is set to explode in growth. And I'm not the only one that thinks that. I think the professionals, the people that make these projections, they're all saying the same exact thing. We're set for like a 15-year spike is basically what they're saying. There's some people are saying 5 years, some people are saying 10. I've seen a lot of people that are projecting a 15-year just absolute, hockey stick projection on the graph of growth and just just unfettered growth here. So because of that influx and the city of Boise not having the staffing, not having the experience with all these permits, here in Boise, it takes about 2 years to get something pushed through from beginning to end. Now there are exceptions to that, and I don't know that it's been 3 to 5 years, Michael, but it certainly is at least 2 years, and it certainly could take up to 3 years to actually get it to where you're like shovel ready, as they say. So being in the business, and by the way, I see this. Andy makes a great comment. He says Bezos is trying to get permitting process done in seconds using AI to analyze permits codes. There's a great use of artificial intelligence. I think a lot of people would be all for that. Obviously, it would put a lot of people in the city planning out of business. At least it would not have to be hiring all these experienced people. Because think about it, there's a lot of work that goes into it. You can't just walk into that job as an entry level. Be like, oh yeah, I know all the zoning, all the codes, I know all the land uses, I know all the different, areas that are mapped out and the city projections. That's not something you just walk into. It actually is somewhat of a serious process that has to be done. So so I would love to see some improvements in that area. But what I'm getting at is every one of these different areas, every different jurisdiction has a different timeline that is actually involved. And so to find in Meridian, which you guys know the area here, Meridian is a very, very fast growing community. It's just exploding in growth, a little more room for expansion, infill. And so to find 160 unit approved, a property that's approved for 160 units, the city has already said yes. They've already been through all the planning, all of the meetings, all that. Permits, plans have been approved, entitlements have been given to the property. The money has already been spent on the footers and getting the the foundation and everything like that. To have that be the case is actually a really, really interesting thing for investors, because now I don't have to go through that process. All I have to do is put my money into it, and instead of sitting on my money for years, potentially a couple of years before we even start building, we already have everything ready to go. Okay, so that project is what caused my thinking to take the next step. Okay, and I want to just stop for a second and say this. If you guys are progressing in business, and it doesn't really matter if it's real estate business, construction business, cake baking business, whatever, your thinking should be getting elevated by the challenges that come up and by the opportunities that present themselves in your business. Here's what I mean by that. Have you ever heard the term better problems? We've all heard the term bigger problems. Oh yeah, now we just got bigger problems. No, the term that I like to think of is something that someone taught me, and I just stuck with me, is better problems. In fact, I've been kicking around the idea. I've got the intro and I've got the whole concept. I've been kicking around the idea for a long time of starting a podcast called the Better Problems Podcast, where I just interview people that are pretty much on a high level and say, hey, when did you go from this to this? But the idea is that you have to be aware of the fact that the challenges that present themselves in your business, in your life, that are a result of you just doing your business, those challenges that are going to come up should force you to stop, slow down, process everything, think about things, pray on things, right? Ask the right kind of questions. Instead of just panicking, look and say, okay, what is this actually? What's the better problem that this represents? And that's exactly how I came into the whole world of raising capital through a private equity fund, because I understood that if I'm ever going to step beyond just the simple flips, right? Your typical residential flip, which by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. I love them. In fact, I'm looking at deals right now. John Kimberling and I were going through a deal that he kind of came across in Vancouver. I made a little video for him, kind of walking him through why I couldn't why I couldn't offer what it is that they were selling it for. And so I love flips, okay, but I have a very specific margin for my flips. I want to make anywhere from $80 to $100,000 if I'm ever going to do a single family flip again. Okay, I'm gonna let that settle in for a minute. I want to make $80 to $100,000 if I'm going to do a single family flip ever again. Now, I mean like a true flip. Yeah, John, you're welcome. So we had a good time, John. If you got any particular nuggets or value, feel free to share that in the comments from the video I made and sent you. But the idea here is that if you're going to do a flip, if you're going to take on all the risk, and it is risky business, if you're going to be one making the offer, borrowing the hard money, paying the points, managing the contractors, doing all the stuff that has to happen for a typical flip, you better make sure that it's worth it. That's what I concluded. I've done multiple flips where I broke even, or in some cases even lost money. Okay, so $80 to $100,000. That's correct, Monica. If I'm going to do a flip, I don't want to do anything that's going to net me. If I have to go borrow money to buy the deal, and I know that I'm going to net less than $80,000 on this one project, I'm already like, not interested. Now, some of you are like, man, that sounds kind of greedy. But I will tell you this, the reason why I feel that way about single family flips is because I've done so many of them, and I have come dangerously close to either not making, like losing significant amount of money. A handful of times I've broke even. Once or twice I've lost money. Think about that. You buy the property, do the work, do all the stuff, and then lose money. So you spend 6 to 8 months just to lose money. How's that sound? Well, I can tell you from personal experience, it's no fun. Okay, so no, don't get me wrong. I've made gobs and gobs of money. I've made really good money on flips before. But because of the fact that I'm far enough along in my real estate journey, and because frankly, I just don't want to waste time doing something that's not highly profitable, I have decided I am no longer interested in doing flips, single family residential flips that don't have a significant not upsell, but significant profit. Okay. For me, significant profit looks like this: $80,000 to $100,000. Now, if you came to me and said, John, guarantee this thing's going to make $75,000, okay, I might look at it, but really my minimum is 80. I really want to shoot for 100,000. Sherry says, good analysis, John. Your new focus will definitely yield a higher profit. I agree. And this isn't like something I just decided on, overnight. It's something that I kind of gradually came into, right? Better problems, elevated thinking. So some of you are still chasing your first deal, and that's totally fine. In fact, I would love for you to come on and ask your questions. Feel free to put it on here, and we'll try to talk about it. But the reality is you do a deal or two, you get into this business, and you stick with it. You're going to find that it's a lot of work to flip a house. Okay, it's a lot of risk to flip a house. Think about it. You're signing on the dotted line to pay 10 minimum nowadays. Typically, right now, more like 12% interest. Typically, 3 points. That means if you borrow $100,000, or you use easy math, right? Borrow $100,000, you're going to pay $12,000 in interest, and you're going to pay, if it's 3 points, you're going to pay $3,000 in points. So you're a total of $15,000. You borrowed 100, you got to pay back 115 already. Okay, so and then that number just gets more as you obviously have bigger dollar amounts. So I came to a realization that if I'm going to grow in this business, I have to start looking at bigger projects. I have to start looking at bigger numbers. And so that forced me to start looking into how do I raise capital for a project like this 160 unit, and start looking at these looking at these units from a real or as a buyer, say, how do I raise the capital to buy these things? Well, first of all, I'm going to have to bring in partners, right? Which is totally fine, totally normal. But secondly, I've got to raise this money, right? And these partners might be funding partners, they might be operators, they might be people that are on the contractor side. And so I joined this particular group, and this group taught me how to actually raise private capital for bigger projects, typically mostly multifamily commercial properties and developments. And as I was learning how to become a general partner legally, where I can actually solicit and raise capital from accredited investors, I was recommended by somebody else in the group that was also a strong Christian believer. And he said, John, you're in the Boise area. You need to meet this guy named Bill. Okay. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I went down and I met this guy named Bill one day and just dropped into his office, said, hey, I'm coming over. Josh says I need to meet you. So I meet Bill, find out that Bill is not just another cool guy, a Christian guy. He's actually has a background in Wall Street finance. And with a background in Wall Street finance, he is now bringing that level of credential and that acumen into a guy who has a massively extensive background in the world of commercial construction. And so I'm automatically interested in these guys because if I'm going to step up my game, if I'm going to raise and elevate my thinking and my projects, I know I'm going to have other people that bring a certain level of credibility to what it is I'm trying to do. And I also know that I have to bring certain benefit to them. And so as I'm meeting and talking to these guys, getting to know them, and I find out they have like a Bible study at their office. And so I'm down at their office every week, kind of getting to know them. Over the last 8 months, our relationship has progressed from being someone who is just like, hey, that's really cool to get to know you, to someone who's like, hey, what projects are you guys working on? Well, I have some projects of my own, but how can I help you guys? And so starting to bring them, introduce them to some pretty high level people in the capital space, people who I've known about, but I've never had a project big enough for them to fund. Okay, I'm talking about people that can sit down and write a check for 3 million, 5 million. Oh, you want to go buy that parcel? Tell me the details. They can write a check. Okay, and I'm talking about people that are very very high level. Now, just you have to understand, those people aren't going after $100,000 profits, right? Those people are going after significant returns on their money. So they don't really like to look at little projects, one-off flips, even small infill lots, little developments. They're not really interested in that because they want to see that if they're going to write the check for 3 million, 5 million to buy the property, get all the engineering done, get the dirt work done, if they're going to do that, then they need to see a significant return on their money. And so I start introducing these guys. So they're flying in from out of state. We're having meetings. I'm introducing them. They're talking about some of their developments. And eventually it kind of came up, and I kind of saw that it was headed this direction, but I wasn't really looking for it. But it kind of came up eventually that they have some projects going on right here in the area where the level of credibility and acumen that I have, being on the construction side, being in the investor side, being someone who's managed projects, they were like, "Hey, we'd like to offer you a position here," and it was something that I didn't take lightly, frankly, because I'm really, I haven't worked for a company since 2021. I've been independently operating on my own since 2021, and so I thought about it, and it wasn't even really it was the money was so good, although the money is great. But the reason why I said yes to this position, the reason why I'm sitting in a little job trailer here today, and I've got my safety vest and my hard hat, and I've done some reports for these guys, and I met with some of their subcontractors earlier. The reason why I said yes and agreed to this is because, well, there's several things, but the primary reason was because this is the next area that I know as far as my real estate journey, my business journey. This is the next step, natural next step for me. And so for me to be working with a commercial contractor that also does development and that has easy, first name basis, one-on-one access to people that are that have a background, like a career background in Wall Street financing, to have access to someone who has a career background in commercial construction, like UCLA dorm housing, Dodger Stadium. That's the kind of projects that these guys have built. To have access to people who here in the Valley, project managers that are on a first name basis with people in the city of Boise planning department and with the inspectors and with all the people that I would need to go about establishing those relationships with, to be able to be working inside their operation and be a part of their team. It just makes sense. Okay. So I was able to talk to them and say, well, listen, I have some things going on of my own that I'm not prepared to just, shelve those things. And they were like, well, we know you've been doing some stuff. We understand that. We don't want you to really set all those things aside. We just want to make sure that these things get done on our projects. And we actually would like to integrate at some point some of the stuff you're doing with some of the stuff we are doing, particularly as it pertains to senior living development, which is that's where I eventually want to be going. I want to be buying and renovating existing facilities, and I want to be building out brand new facilities for senior living, like this 160 unit that I just got off the phone with the broker earlier today, just talking to him about where is that project at? Is it still for sale? What's going on? So I just wanted to tell you guys a couple of things about all this. The reason I'm saying all of this, the reason why I'm having this conversation today is because I want you to understand that your business as an investor, as a flipper, as just somebody who's just getting into real estate, you should be constantly moving in an upward progression. It doesn't mean you're not going to have dips, okay? You should be moving in an upward progression. I want to look at the comments real quick. Matthew Miner says, we're almost done with our 4th adult care home. Good market sector. Matthew, I 100% agree with you. In fact, it's kind of hard to imagine, in my opinion. Well, I know of one area that I would say would maybe be more lucrative simply because of taxes, um, but it doesn't have the same feel good aspect. Okay, I like the idea of building housing for seniors because of the fact that there is such a need for it. It's a growing segment of the population. And let's just be honest, right? The baby boomers, our parents, they don't want to go live in a nursing home somewhere. They want independent living. They want the kind of places where they can go and they have pool and they have weight rooms and they have pickleball courts and they have a restaurant. They have, community, and it's newer and it has a little more luxury feel to it. Like, that's what they want. They don't want to go into, a nursing home. And, frankly, a lot of people that are in, their late 60s, in their 70s, they don't even really want to go into like just a cottage style living. They actually want the community sense. And so I think that senior living is huge. The only thing I think is probably more lucrative, honestly, for investors would be anything that has to do with fuel. So gas stations, buying those gas stations and renovating those, because you get a massive, massive tax write-off, tax benefit as an investor, as opposed to just your typical depreciation on a home or a commercial property. But that being said, I mean, gas stations don't make people feel good, right? In fact, right now, gas stations make people feel kind of lousy. So, yeah, Matthew, I'd love to chat with you sometime. I know that we've missed each other a couple of times in Portland, but yeah, this is, I think, is a good segment. It's a massive growing opportunity. It's a $15 trillion market. I'm going to say that again. A $15 trillion market is this senior market projections. So Matthew says, long term, you just want to own them. Yes, not operate. I have no interest at all in operating. In fact, I just met earlier today with someone who would be my operator here locally if and when I am able to get one of these up. And same thing, it was because of these connections that come, and that's what I wanted to just emphasize with you guys today. You guys need to understand the power and the value of being a part of a community, and the power and the value of networking. And I don't mean just going out and networking just to network. I mean being intentional. I talked to the group that I mentor on Wednesdays. We have a group session, and I was telling them, you want to be mentoring on purpose, right? You have to actually have intentional mentoring. Who are you trying to connect with? Why is it that they should want to meet with you? So I already have meetings scheduled in middle and end of April for people here locally that are involved in funding, right? And people that are one guy who's the senior vice president of a local credit union. Not because I'm looking to go get traditional financing, although it'd be nice to know that that's available at some point, but because of the connections that those types of people have. So um, you gotta ask, who are you wanting to meet? Um, how can you help them? And what can you do to actually learn and glean from them? So I'm here today, literally sitting in a little job trailer that's actually getting a little bit warm because I turned the fan off because I didn't want it to be too noisy. But I've got my hard hat. I'm back to what I left in a sense 6 years ago. Get this, I left Intel on the contractor side 6 years ago, and I'm so glad that I did, by the way. And it looked like, from what I can tell, it looks like I left just in time, right? Or just a little bit ahead of the curve. But I left working commercial construction 15 year. I mean, in 2001, so 5 years ago now. And I did that to really to start pursuing in earnest some of the things that were more important to me at the time. So obviously, at the time, I was pastoring full time there in the Portland area, and then also I had this kind of a side real estate business, doing flips, doing some wholesaling, but I wanted to actually see if I could make a business out of it. And so I left full time employment in the commercial construction. I set out doing what it is that I was passionate about, pursuing what it is I thought had been laid before me, and it's come full circle back around to, in a sense, a very similar role to what I was doing with it before. But I'm doing it with much more flexibility, with much more acumen, with much more experience, and with the opportunity to come in as a partner as opposed to just an employee. And so I really appreciate the fact that when you have intention, whenever you stick with something, then and when you really try to make a go at it, when you try to actually go out and network and meet people, I could not have possibly planned on being where I'm at today. I just couldn't have done it. If I would have thought down and said, what's my 5 year plan? I couldn't have looked at 5 years ago and said, well, I want to be working in commercial construction, we're working on a 22 unit townhome development here. I have to leave from here in a little while. I'm going to go out and check on an 84 unit apartment complex that we're building. This is big stuff, right? These are big projects. This is the kind of stuff that I love. There's equipment running everywhere. We had a paver out here this morning. All those things that I've always loved because I have a construction background and I understand it and I thrive on it. But that's not where I want to live. That's not where I want to stay. I don't want to be in construction my entire life, which is why I stepped away from that. But now, because of my construction background, because of being intentional about networking, about my business, about what I'm trying to do, here I am in a much, much higher level capacity, doing stuff that I love doing, having an opportunity to minister, to get to know people, talking to subcontractors, making a lot of connections for what will eventually be one of my projects. And I have now got the experience of wearing the contractor's hat, wearing the operator, I mean the owner, investor hat, and I'm now getting into the world of capital raising. So really working with funds and lending, and looking at all those from the point of view that I have right now. Guys, I could not have planned this 5 years ago. There's no way I could have planned it. And furthermore, if you would have told me that I'd be working on something like this 5 years ago, you know what I would have said? No, 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 no. No, I just want to do a couple flips a year. I'm totally happy with just getting a couple of flips under my belt, maybe a wholesale deal here and there if it's not a deal that I want to close myself. That's literally what I said. And I said I'm just gonna focus on flipping, doing some wholesaling. Oh yeah, I'm gonna start this meetup here and we'll see how that goes. Never had any idea that we would eventually have a community in the Portland area, the PDX group, over 6,000 members in that Facebook community. We pack the house every month that we do our meetups. We have a growing community, Facebook community here in the Boise market. We're doing our free meetups. We're doing the same exact thing, except for we're going to cut the learning curve out of it. We're going to accelerate this. I have a massive community down in Northwest Florida on the Facebook side. A lot of deals going on in there. So I could not have possibly envisioned where I'm at now, but I just want to tell you guys this: all things are possible. Okay, all things are possible. If you think that there's a potential, like you really actually have a desire to do something like this in this real estate space, keep leaning into it, keep pursuing it, keep on learning. Keep on elevating your thinking and your mindset, because there's no telling where you could go if you just stick with it and keep on being intentional about it. So I hope that you guys got about excited about this. I'm excited. I'm out on a job site. I got my work boots on. I've got my hard hat, but I'm not stuck here on a shovel all day long. I get to come and go pretty much as I please and as I need to, and I'm serving a much greater purpose. I'm learning new things every day. That's what you should be doing too. And God willing, I'll be taking these things, these experiences, bringing them back to you all, and hopefully making it something that's exciting and that you can learn from too. So John says that he says, I worked at Intel in Hillsboro for many years. John, which, just maybe drop it in the chat, which you worked at Ronler Acres or Jones Farm or one of those. I was at Ronler, and then primarily at Aloha the last couple of years. So let's see here. Sherry says, dude, that's amazing favor. Sounds like your steps are ordered. Well, the Bible has some things to say about that. And I believe that it's important to pursue what you believe God made you for, and to do it for his glory. And I think that when you seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, all these things are added unto you. That's what Jesus said anyway. And so far, it's been proved true to me. So John says he worked at Ronler Acres. Yep. So I was there for, I think, Mod 3, Mod 4. I left and went over to Aloha around Mod 5. But yeah, a lot of people at Intel right now wishing that they had somewhere else to go. I think Intel is not doing that great. In the meanwhile, Micron over here is exploding in growth. I've actually been offered several opportunities to go out there and work, but I have no interest in working for big corporate construction. I want to work with an investor, a builder, and that's exactly where I'm at now. So, all right, I worked in the first building when it broke. Wow, John, you're like an OG there. Yeah, like back when it was just a swamp, huh? Guys, I hope this is helpful. I can't believe it's already been 40 minutes that we've been on here today. So I'm going to stop for a minute. I'm going to look at the comments. I'm going to grab a drink here. But if you guys have questions, comments on any of this so far, please let me know. This was kind of more of just an update on where things are at. For those of you that are already working with me on the mentoring side, um, this will not affect what we're doing. In fact, we have a couple of months left before that 1 year of mentoring is that group sessions and one-on-ones that we've been doing. We have, I think we're done in May. And so everything we've been working on up till the point of May will continue as it's already been. We might have to make some adjustments after that. But I believe that I'm actually going to expand what I'm doing as far as coaching goes, as far as mentoring goes. I've almost finished with, in fact, I'll show you guys a little sneak peek here. I don't know how to show you on the screen and share it, so I'm just going to share. I'm going to go ahead and point it. Let's see here. All right. Okay. So I have right here, I have 4 episodes finished. It's my micro my mentorship, my mini course that I've done on the best off-market property leads I have. I'll go ahead and show you this. Best motivated seller leads in your market are not on any list. They don't respond to ads. They're definitely not going to Google or Facebook, and they're not answering cold calls or text messages, but they are needing to sell right now. What if I told you that this demographic of sellers are in every city in America? They're not on a tax lien list. They're definitely not in pre-foreclosure, and almost nobody is positioned to serve these people. Hi, my name is John Robinson. I'm the founder of the Legacy. Okay, so I've got the micro mentorship. It's all the editing is done. We're just looking at how to package it and how to actually put it out there. So I'm working on stuff that if you guys are interested, if anybody has an interest in that, besides the free stuff we do on Tuesday Talks, besides the monthly meetups that we do, besides working with some of you one-on-one when you have deals, I always like looking at stuff if I can. Besides all that, I will have this 4-part I'm calling it a mini course, whatever. I haven't quite landed on it, but I've got those 4 parts, about 20 minutes a piece, that are done, and we're putting it together. And that's going to be, for some of you that have commented in the last couple months, you're going to be getting a sneak peek. You'll actually get the access to that early on. But I'm going to be having that. And the reason I'm putting that together is because I answer some of these questions, these same questions, so many times. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put this into a package. And if you want it, you can get it. It's not going to be free, but it is going to be very, very affordable. And it'll give you much, much more information than anything that you're currently getting on where to find the best motivated seller leads anywhere in America. And that is absolutely hands down the best motivated seller leads. And it has to do, just sneak peek, it has to do with this senior homeowner niche, okay? But how to get to these folks, how to actually not just get to them, but how to have them come to you. That's what's going to be in this micro mentorship mini course, whatever we're going to call it. So I'm still going to be doing a lot of the things we're doing. In fact, we're going to be elevating it, doing it on a higher level, providing more opportunities on the back end. Some of you are just wanting to partner up on funding. Some of you want to learn how to do some of these things. Some of you want to learn how to find these best motivated seller leads. Whatever it is you have, I'm going to try to do my best to be able to provide it for you in an easy access way. But we're going to keep on doing these Tuesday talks. I actually love doing this with you guys. To be honest, I love it better whenever you guys are more interactive, when you actually have questions. Because if you have questions, it forces me to stop talking so much and actually look at what you're saying. So John says, I was at Aloha Intel Fab 4 and Fab 5 and started my career in 1987. Yeah, back when Intel stock was splitting several times a year. Yeah. Well, that was back in the old days, as they say. Aloha campus was the original Intel campus there in Oregon. So Micron here, guys, is just massively exploding and expanding. I mean, it's just, you guys can't even believe how big of a building they're putting in out here. And some of you that are here local, you already know this. You've been out there and seen it. If you haven't, I highly recommend just hit 84. Go out there to the old outlet mall, turn around and take a look, because it's incredible how big that building is. If you drive around out there, it's kind of interesting. You can still get really close to the site. I'm kind of surprised that they don't have it more secured, but you can drive out there. You can look at it. It's a massive, massive expansion of Micron's business here, and they're building out their fabs. They don't put millions and literally billions of dollars into those types of projects. I think $15 billion bringing into the area. They don't put that kind of money into those projects unless they expect a massive amount of growth. They have investors behind them. They have demand for it because of the AI. And what's happening because of all that work, guess what's happening? All around it, housing is going through the roof because there's a huge demand for it. And that demand is not expected to diminish anytime soon. So Boise is a hot market. Treasure Valley is a hot market. We're seeing blue states kind of diminish a little bit. I still think they're good areas for flips. Not certainly not something I'm interested in owning property, but on the ownership side, I am definitely looking into building out, buying and renovating existing assisted living homes. If you guys are looking for bird dogging opportunities, I'd love for you guys to find stuff for me here in the Treasure Valley, really anywhere in the state of Idaho, but particularly in the Treasure Valley. And we're also looking for dirt so that we can actually build these properties on. I've got some blueprints. I've got a builder that I'm working with now. We've got access to capital through the GPLP private equity fund structure, and we are set to grow. So hopefully you guys will be growing with me. We'll all be growing together. Yeah, look, John says all of my coworkers have moved from Rondler Acres to Micron. Yeah, I'm seeing that. Let's see here. Let's see. Andy says, for adult children of those seniors, is it better to have a smaller communities, 10 to 50 units, or over 100 units? Reason closer to their families' homes to visit. There's a lot of reasons why some would prefer more units, because typically the higher level of units you have, the higher level of amenities, or you have greater amenities, like the 160 unit that I mentioned here. I mean, pool, indoor pool, outdoor pool, workout rooms, 2 restaurants, coffee shop, right, gift store, salon, um, pickleball courts, barbecue, patio space. I mean, just everything that you could possibly want. And the reason they can offer so much of that is because there are so many units, right? when you get into smaller communities, 10 to 50, you tend to not have the income to afford to put in all those types of features. So, um, Andy says smaller communities can be placed throughout the city, whereas bigger ones require a larger lot. Exactly. So the other thing is smaller communities can be put anywhere on the like on the outlying areas. I'm actually seeing a lot of opportunity for putting up small, anywhere from probably 12 to 16, or maybe even like anything under 30 units in some of these smaller outlying communities here in the valley, because my wife's parents are just got my so be my wife's grandmother placed, and it was in one of these outlying communities, much higher level of care, but they had three 16 unit buildings all next to each other. All three of them were filled up, and the base price to move in was $3,800 a month. So do the math on that real quickly. $3,800 a month is the base, right? So we'll go 3,800, and then there was 16 units, so that's $60,000 a month times three of those buildings. $182,400 a month is what those three 16 unit properties are bringing in, and those are all side by side in a smaller outlying community, simply because of the fact that there's more, there's more property, there's more availability, and you would think there'd be less demand, but there's actually still a significant amount of demand out in the outlying areas, because those people don't want to move into Boise. Okay, they actually want to have be closer to where they currently live. So um, yes, Peggy says we need more staffing, good quality staffing. Peggy, I would be, I first of all, I 100% agree with you, but I would be shocked if we don't see, I'm going to make a prediction here, if we don't see within the next 3 years, particularly in areas of these communities, I would be shocked if we don't start seeing some type of robotic interactions in these communities, simply because of what you just said. Staffing is an issue. And as the robotics are developing at a rapid pace, and they're starting to actually be introduced into the public arena for public use, right? There's people that are having robots to do basic housekeeping. You've seen the videos where they're actually unloading dishwashers and things like that. Um, this is something that I think we're going to be seeing a lot faster than any of us expect, or certainly would even want. But it's a reality that is here now, and I don't think it's going away. And in my opinion, one of the best places, I'm saying best using it from their point of view, one of the best places to introduce these types of usage would be in communities where there is a need for staffing, but maybe there's not as much, maybe the cognitive awareness of, oh, this is a robot, right, may not necessarily be as easy to pick up on because of people with memory issues or dementia or whatever. So interesting theory. You guys, hold me to it. Come back and tell me if I was right or wrong in 3 years. I think that senior communities, nursing, places where staffing, where it's not super, super skilled, but it is a certain particular need, I think we're actually going to see more and more, at least an introduction of these types of uses, robotic uses in those spaces before too long. So that's just my opinion from all the stuff that I've read and put together. So, okay, folks, I have got to get back to it. I've got to get back to work. I've got some subcontractors that I need to meet with, and then I've got to run out to the 84 unit property, and we're going to just keep on keeping on. I want you to do the same thing. Keep on keeping on. If you're in the real estate space, I think you're in the right business. I just think you need to be looking to expand as quickly as possible, get into some higher level stuff, learn at an exponential rate, right? Be using, if you don't have a chat GPT going on your phone, constantly talking to your agent, your chat GPT agent about the real estate stuff you're learning. So it's getting a cumulative knowledge of what you're working on. I think if you're not doing that already, you're going to end up getting left behind. So get in, start doing that, and keep me informed if you have a deal, if you want me to look at something. Most of you guys know where to reach me. If you don't know where to reach me, just look me up on Facebook. You can message me. I will not get back to you automatically. I've got a lot on my plate, so if I don't get back to you all right away, you're just going to have to wait or ping me again. But if you're in one of my paid communities where you're already getting mentoring, then let me know. We'll be keeping our regular schedule, and I'll be talking to you guys soon. So That's it, guys. That's all I've got. A lot of things going on. God bless. Stay posted inside. If you're not following me on YouTube, do that. I don't post a lot of stuff there right now, but I'm going to start. And so I will be talking to you soon. And Peggy, yes, I have a document that you need to get printed so that you can take it over to our seller there in Beaverton. I was going to talk to you about that right after we get off of this. So, all right, guys, that's it. God bless. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and we will talk to you soon. Okay? Keep on keeping.